Delays on that.
The all-new WMEG Radio.
What happens when truth doesn't matter anymore?
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of The Outsiders. I'm your host, Sean Sims, and my co-host, superstar Doc Cheatham. I guess he's running late, Rock. I wanted the Rock and Doc connection. Rock's here, Doc's, I guess he's on his way, but we have a full show today. They've got NASA with the UFO thing that's popped up on the radar again. Dr. Werner von Braun, who he was actually the founder of NASA. We pulled him out of Deutschland, Germany, and he founded NASA. And he actually said, I'm going to pull some... Rock, have you heard about this UFO business?
Mm-mm.
It's out again. I mean, they're having hearings. It's a big deal. And a lot of people think, okay, it's a bunch of, nonsense. Other people have seen aliens and UFOs. But Dr. Werner von Braun, here's a little history for you, actually said that the last glove to drop on this planet was the alien invasion, I guess the fake UFO invasion thing. So, oopsie, maybe I put out a little bit too much information there. But that's going on, and the craziness that's going on in Baltimore City, in the country, in the world, everybody's jumping into the Republican race. I don't know who's coming in next. So it looks like Mike Pence might be putting his bid in. I believe he is. And the former VP, Tim Scott, he's a senator from South Carolina. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Tim Scott later. I have some things I want to say about that. And there has been a shooting. I have to report this. One of my listeners and viewers, one of my YouTube viewers, listeners, sent this information to me in regards to a report that was done, David Collins, I-Team reporter. This was June the 2nd, this report. A man was killed in Woodlawn Thursday outside of City View Bar and Grill. A source told the I-Team the shooting was targeted. So it's not just Baltimore City, it's Baltimore County. We have things that are going on. The source who provided critical information, I'm reading the article from WBAL-TV, to police said the gunman waited outside for Frank Eubanks Jr. Now, I used to hang out at City View. Before that was Pargo's. You remember that, Rock? With the Pargo's in City View? So I hung out. People can't hear you. You're bobbing your head. They don't know what you're saying. Yes, yeah. No, yes.
I'm going to remain quiet because that's a very close friend of mine.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Oh, wow. Okay, I've got to read this. I got to read the story. I'm sorry, he's 54 years old.
Yes.
As he climbed into his gray late model Jeep. Wow, Rock, I didn't know that. I'm condolences, man. I didn't know that. But this report was out, and it looks like he was involved in some interactions that weren't too legal. He had some issues. It looks like it happened right at the front door at City View Grill, and we used to hang out there, and my good buddy A. Dwight Pettit, myself, Ms. Denise, and others, and Mr. Leo. He was a Greek guy. He owned the place. He has some other owners now because he passed away, but had some good times there with a lot of folks, and I'm sorry to hear about this. I hope that all gets taken care of. And I have to touch on an issue regarding, I don't know if you folks have ever heard of it. It's called Title I. Have you ever heard of Title I?
Yes.
Right. Okay, good. Doc's not here, so I'm going to be tossing a few over the rock just to see if, get his opinion a little bit on things. Just a smidge. But this Title I, and I'll read what it is. Okay. The program description for Title I, this has to do with grants for education for the disadvantaged. Grants to local educational agencies. And this is for improving the academic achievement of the disadvantaged. Title I ESEA, Title LEA grants. Title I Part A of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, as amended by the Every Student Succeeds Act, ESEA, provides financial assistance to local educational agencies, ELAs, that's what they're known as, that's the acronym, and schools with high percentages of children with low-income families to help ensure that all children meet challenging state academic standards. Federal funds are currently allocated through 4 statutory formulas. They basically have the four ways in which they give this money out. You have basic grants, which provide funds to LEAs. You have concentration grants, you have targeted grants, and you have education finance incentive grants, or EFIGs. And there are different factors. I'm not going to go into all the details with the numbers and the factors and all, but this is how money's given out to schools for the disadvantaged. And once the state EFIG allocation is determined, funds are provided. So this takes place, very important for our youth to get them up to speed, get them in a better situation where they can be more profitable, more effective in life, in society. And if a Title I school is operating a targeted assistant program, the school provides Title I services to children who are, now here's the part that caught my eye, to children who are failing or most at risk of failing to meet challenging state academic standards. Schools in which children from low-income families make up at least 40% of enrollment are eligible to use Title I funds to operate school-wide programs that serve all children in the school in order to raise the achievement of the lowest achieving students. And there's more to this, but we're the outsiders, but we get the inside information. Don't get the name twisted. I have received information that there may be holdups on dispensing of these funds. So we ask. Okay, let's ask, little birdie. Tweet, tweet, tweet. So I sent an email out to the school systems, the LEAs, I should say, and all of them. I believe I touched on all of them, either that was sent out via email or I left messages, phone messages, so on. And I did receive a response from, let's see, Washington County, Prince George's County, Baltimore City. Dr. Santelisa's office responded professionally, very professionally, and in a timely manner. So I'll give them kudos on that. Baltimore County as well. But the answers or responses I received from Cecil County, and specifically Frederick County, were a little odd. Cecil County actually asked me, advised me, I should say, that they were going to refer my question over to the public information officer. And the question had to do with finding out if they're receiving their grant funds in a timely manner. This was to Dr. Lawson, Sylvia Lawson. I also sent this out to all of the school agencies, LEAs. We would like to know if the LEA systems have had their grants sent to them. Our sources have made it clear to us that there have been quote-unquote issues with Title I funds in the state. Have there been any issues, and if so, when will they be cleared up? Thank you. Sean Sims and Marvin Doc Cheatham, hosts of The Outsiders, WMEG Online Radio. I have not, this was May 31st, Wednesday I sent this out. I have not received a response, but the Frederick County response, I digress, was interesting in that Eric Luers Phillips, Associate Superintendent of Public Affairs, Frederick County Public Schools. Eric sent this to me. Good morning, Sean. I hope you are well. At this time, we have no information to share with you regarding your request. Have a great afternoon. There he is, superstar Doc Cheatham, and he's got the O's, he's got his number, 24 Cheatham on the back. Doc, we're glad you made it. I called you, it went straight to voicemail. Oops.
I pressed the wrong button. I'm sorry.
No. He's in studio, and I'm in the middle of going over Title I. You were carbon copied on my emails in regards to asking the questions for Title I. Is the mic okay? Oh, the mic's a little limp over here, Rob. We got a limp mic.
Yeah, Nicole was playing with it.
Oh, man. See, now we're starting to go into territory. Oh, my goodness. Okay, we're getting this all set up, but, Doc, I was going over Title I and the fact that I'm not, these answers, there's 24 LEAs, local educational agencies, and I've only got a response back from like 5.
Wow.
And Frederick County, this guy, Eric Phillips, I'm not going to pronounce the middle, the Phillips, Eric Phillips, with this good morning, Sean, I hope you are well. At this time, we have no information to share. All I'm asking is, are you receiving your federal funds in a timely manner? That's
yes
it.
Or no. Yes or no.
That's a yes or no question. Eric gives me this, and I'm going to say it. I mean, this is the nicest way to say go pound sand. Basically, that's what I'm getting from Eric. Okay, we've got Doc set up on mic. Okay, the mic is now solid. It's not limp anymore. Falling down. So so this guy sends us back, and I'm trying to figure out. I called the office. I called the office of Sylvia Lawson, Dr. Lawson, to speak with her. I did send something to Muhammad Chaudhary, Mr. Chaudhary as well, in trying to find out what is going on with this issue. And it's just unusual. What do you think about that, Doc, that I'm not getting answers from these local educational agencies?
Well, I guess my years of trying to communicate with, whether it be the Maryland State Department of Education or whether it be the Baltimore City Board of Education, but what I found, the modus operandi with all of these city agencies that deal with education, their response is to give you no response. We tried to get the CEO for Baltimore City to step down 3 years ago. She would never respond. Of course, we filed a class action lawsuit against the Maryland, I guess they used to call it Maryland State Department of Education for the 4 HBCUs. Their initial response was no response. I think that's how education systems, be it state or city, respond. They respond by not responding, hoping and praying we would go away. But folks, I would tell you this, Sean Connery, better known as Sean Sim, he does not give up.
No, I was in sales and I was trained. My dad was a Army Ranger. My granddad, World War II vet, Saipan, Philippines. Private education school. I'm not bragging, but private. And not just that. I've been around guys like you, Doc, and some heavy hitters my whole life, ever since I was a little one. And I've been trained how to do things properly. And when I see something, I just simply ask a question. I don't attack. I'm not gonna attack and just jump. I've got information that's inside information. We're the outsiders. We've got a lot of connections between Doc and myself. We've got tons and tons of connections. I've got connections all over the country. So when I get something that comes in, I just ask a question. And I'm not getting answers back. And to her credit, like I was saying, Dr. Santelises, I do call her Dr. Mengele because the way she's just tore up the school system. But to her credit, they got back to me in an efficient manner, promptly. So I give credit where credit is due. They may have not gotten back to others in the past, but for whatever reason, they got back to the outsiders.
You know what that is? I think you, Sean, Fox 45.
Fox 45 is following behind me, and they couldn't carry my jock, first of all, period. Yeah, I'm saying it. So they're following behind me and pulling what I'm doing, and I gave them permission to do so. On air, I believe.
Yeah.
On air. Because I want the truth to get out. So if they're willing to put the truth
will
out,
set you free, folks.
Whoever's willing to put the truth out and they're not covering people up, or they don't have sponsors, BGE, sponsors that they have to look out for, so they can't step on toes. They got to be real gentle. We can't go here, we can't go there, because we don't want to offend our sponsor who's in bed with Slim Shady. So they're compromised, so they might as well just shut up.
But you know what I think we need, Sean? We need one or two, federal, city, and state, all three levels. We need some folks that we can depend upon, we can count on, to help us on issues like this. And, you know, at this point, there used to be a number of elected officials that were on a federal, state, or city level that we could go to on education issues. Right now, I don't know of anyone on a federal, city, or state level that we can go to on education issues.
I don't know of anyone either. Hopefully that will change, but the only way that is going to change is people have to get up off of their tuchuses.
Backspine and Boheim.
They have to get up off of their backsides and actually do something and stop getting run over like you've been getting run over. This session in Annapolis, you people just got, it was a train wreck. You just got ran over. The violence and the crime wasn't even addressed.
Wasn't touched.
So you, and then you just sat there and let them do it to you. So that's on you all for letting them run all over you. And I want to touch on, speaking of getting run over, this issue with the MDEC, the Maryland Electronic Court System. You know what I'm going to do? We did talk about, well, what's his name? Bates, Ivan? Getting in touch with Ivan, having him on the show. Getting in touch with young Xavier, having him on the show. And I'm going to add, and then you did say Jill, so let's make it balanced, Jill Carter. Let's have another person, female, woman, lady, if you will. And I'm talking about Marilyn Bentley, the former clerk of the court.
Okay.
Okay. Marilyn, listen up. If you're not listening, I know one of your friends is listening, because we do have the same friends, Marilyn. Tell her, let her know that I'm going to get in touch with her. And I'm going to ask if she's going to come on this show and ask about the alleged $2 million to the administrative office of the courts in 2022. Did she give $2 million or a large amount of funds back to the administrative office of the courts? And word is that the Baltimore City Circuit Court and Ivan Bates, maybe you should take a look into this. I saw what he had with this thing where the citation thing, the citation business. Okay, he needs to take a look. How really backed up? I heard is backed up. You got a guy in there who's a clerk, doesn't know what he's doing, has no experience, doesn't know what he's doing. You people in Baltimore City, you voted him in. So you get what you voted in. You saw a name, which he changed at the last minute, and then you voted him in, and it is a hot mess back up. Ivan, what are you going to do about it? So I have a conversation with Marilyn Bentley. If she has the kahunas, because I heard she was a real tough guy when she was clerk of the court. I heard she was real tough guy. Hey, Marilyn, you meet a real tough guy. See, I'm going to get in touch with her.
Okay.
And I'm going to show her who's really the tough guy. But I'm fair. But I'm fair, though.
Personal.
I'm fair. This is business because it is a lot of money. And I'm fair. I'm a straight shooter, and I'm fair. But I'm not going to be a cupcake with these cupcake interviews if she has a cojones to come on the show or to at least do a tape interview, something, to explain the situation at the Circuit Court for Baltimore City that she left as a clerk.
Don't be like Senator Antonio Hayes. Don't even want to answer whether or not he answers it by phone or by letter. You know, not man enough to come and answer legitimate questions.
No, he's not.
You know, it's sad the representation that we don't have. I can't say that we have the representation that we don't have. But this is a viable issue, Sean, and I really thank and commend you for sticking to this one. And let's not give up on it.
Well, Antonio Hayes is a coward. He's got a yellow streak down his back, a mile wide and 10 miles long. So you people voted in a coward. Wouldn't come on the show. We sent him the questions. He was going to come on. Then when he received the questions, because they weren't cupcake softball questions, they were fair, but they were tough questions, and he chickened out.
All I can say, folks, everyone with my skin ain't my kin, and the first person on that list is Senator Antonio Hayes.
Yes, he is. And I want to get into something, Doc.
All righty.
It might be a smidge sensitive. I was going to actually talk to you about this before the show came on. I said, my wife goes, maybe you should talk to him about it. It has to do with Kim Klacik.
Okay.
And what she said. I was in my office.
And I have to admit, confession, she's a friend of mine.
Yeah, we
don't agree on all issues, but I do consider her a friend, and I think she feels the same way.
Okay, I'm because I have to bring this up, and I know that because she was mentioning something about B360 dirt bikes, and she got into trouble at another station. Kim, there's only one other station.
She's not there any longer.
I thought it had to do with Mayor Slim Shady and getting on his case, and it was another station. You've only been on one other station, WBAL. How many radio stations have you worked for? So we know which station you're talking about. I guess she can't mention the call letters. I don't give a crap. She got into trouble for talking about B360 and dirt bikes, which is ridiculous on the face of it. And the fire department with this ARPA funds, they didn't get any money from the ARPA funds.
Yeah, I even heard this morning on the radio. You know, they're screaming, but I think they have some legitimacy to their issues.
Yes, they have. I believe they have huge legitimacy. So she went over food deserts as well, but I'm going to mention this first.
Go ahead.
I've heard Kim, this young lady, mention you over the years.
Uh-oh. There goes the neighborhood.
And Doc Cheatham this. Doc Cheatham took me to D.C. Doc Cheatham took me
to D.C.
I digress. I took him to D.C. and Doc Cheatham is so, and Doc Cheatham this and Doc Cheatham that. Now, the cat, I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. She must have said your name about half a dozen to a dozen times within a 2-minute period. And I understand the friendship part. And I'm sitting there with this look on my face. The cat walks into my office. He's looking up at me like, what is going on with you? Because I start cracking up. And I get an epiphany. I go, you know what? I believe this young woman has a monster crush on you. Young woman, distinguished older man, because it's the way, it's all the time, Doc. I'm just throwing that out there.
I think what she experienced
was
what a number of people experience in dealing with me is that I try to be fair. I'm not concerned whether you have a R or D or G in front of your name.
Yes.
Mr. or Mrs., whether you're gay, straight, black, white, that matters very little of anything to me. I'm worried about truth and justice and equality. And when I deal with issues, I try to deal with them very sensitive that what would you do if it was being done to you? And that's how we approach, and I got to meet Kim as a result of her running for Congress. And that was because our congressional representation had not been in my community at all. And I approached every candidate, as I am doing now, with the United States Senator candidates. Very few of them have even filed. You see their names and you see their commercials, but very few of them have filed for United States Senator for the state of Maryland. And I'm trying to get all of them to come to my neighborhood and discuss with us in many other neighborhoods the issue about food deserts. And that's how I first met Kim. And she was interested through the White House in bringing me to the White House to let the president then, Trump, know that we have an individual who's president of a neighborhood that is concerned about food deserts, and it doesn't make a difference what politics we're playing. He's just concerned about the welfare of his citizens.
I'm concerned about the food deserts as well, and I'm gonna go ahead and segue into what I'm talking
about. Go right ahead. I'm sorry I talked too long.
Okay. Me and my wife love watching these repeats and stuff of Don Rickles, and because she cracks us up. She loves Don Rickles repeats and stuff. So she reminds me of Don Rickles always talking about Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra this, and Frank Sinatra that, and Frank Sinatra did this and boosted me that, and Frank Sinatra did a lot for his career, and it's like she's got a crush. It's like a teenager, and that's the way I'm seeing it, because Doc Cheatham,
I never envisioned that. I'm sorry.
Oh, Doc Cheatham. But here's the issue at hand. She said, and this is what blew me back in my Emerge. I got one of the fancy Emerge chairs that I lean back in the office, and it just blew me back. And she said, I feel sorry for Doc Cheatham because nothing will happen with the food deserts. And I'm saying this, well, I feel sorry for the people who are not doing anything about the food desert. Klacik got it twisted. I guess, Doc, you should just quit because nothing's going to happen with the food deserts. I'm behind you 100%, and I'm going to say this quick. I'm going to say this. In regards to doing what you need to do, I mean, you're doing a fantastic job, and what you're doing is courageous. To do that which is right but seems impossible is the very definition of courage, Kim Klacik.
Well, I can't accept it. I can't accept courage. I had to call.
I'm giving it to you. You've got it.
I've been president of my neighborhood 4 different times. I've had 2 presidents die, and I've come back in office as a request from the community to come help. One such person was Gwen Shelton. She passed away, but when she passed away, we had met on the parking lot of Stop, Shop, and Save. It was owned by a minister and his son. They had 8 Stop, Shop, and Saves. We picketed that food market, but we picketed in a positive sense. We asked, and the owner and his son came out, and they said, Doc, what you doing? You picketing us? I said, yes, I'm begging you not to leave. Because if you leave our neighborhood, Monroe and Pressman, we will have 8 neighborhoods that will be without a food market. And I promised her, she died a few months later.
Oh, wow.
I promised her on her deathbed. She was in Glen Burnie. We went to visit her, pouring down rain, and I said to her, face to face, I will not give up as long as I'm living.
That's
the
it.
fight this fight for a food desert.
Exactly.
And we lost the food desert just before she passed away. And I promised Gwendolyn Shelton, who is president of Matthew Henson Neighborhood Association, I promised her, as long as I have breath in my body, I will continue to fight for food deserts.
And I will be there with you, Doc. And what I want to do is, speaking of Kim Klacik, because we got to run. We're going to run some clips. It's going to be a clip-a-thon. So let's start with Kim. Rock, cut one.
He needs no introduction. Doc Cheatham, in case you're not in the greater Baltimore area, Doc Cheatham, you see, he's a civil rights leader. He has been fighting for equality in Baltimore City for a very long time. He's been fighting for a food market because it is a food desert. He is very boisterous when it comes to the Board of Elections and things that they need to straighten out there. He's been fighting for everyone in the Matthew Henson neighborhood.
Well, one of the unfortunate things, Kim, is that the problem has gotten worse in the last 10 years. We are now up to 15 communities that are negatively affected by the food desert. Of that 15 communities, there are 15 apartment buildings where the residents, because of their salary, their inability to have transportation, they are also suffering. And sadly enough, it's gone up to, from our estimates, 30% of Baltimore City residents live in a food desert.
Yeah, that's what's going on. I played that interview you had with her. You've had many interviews over the years with Ms. Klacik, so I played that as well. That I was kind of surprised that she said that I feel sorry thing when she's pushing. It seems like she's fighting with you, but it seems like she's like kind of giving up at the same time. And I don't give up. I don't quit, Doc. I'm not a quitter.
Well, I would say this. There is not one federal, not one state, not one city elected official that has taken up the issue, the banter of dealing with food deserts.
No, it happens.
So, it's understandable. It's not acceptable, but it's understandable that none of our elected officials care a damn about food deserts. But guess what? That's because none of them live in one.
They don't live in one, and that's why they don't care. But we're going to keep on that issue, and we will not stop.
I'm giving my life to this issue.
We will not stop, and you're one of the outsiders, we're the outsiders, and the outsiders don't quit and we don't give up. So I'm going to go to, there's an intro to violence. Okay. I'm a Christian man. I'm a Christian soldier. Been so since I was 7.
We're Christian soldiers.
So that'll be 51 years, because I'm turning 58 this month. And
I wish I had you.
I'm just a smidge from 60. But Cain and Abel, there were no guns during that time. The first 2 humans born, Cain and Abel, and Cain killed his brother, not with an Uzi, not with a 9mm, not with a 32, not with a Kalashnikov, but with a rock. Okay, people kill people. They murder people. You have to get the people who are the murderers, who have committed the crime, you have to get them away from decent citizens. The people who may be on the brink of doing such criminal acts, you want to get to them prior with a better education system, with the church needs to get more involved in the community because it has to do with a person's soul, their mind, their psyche, in order to affect that. And after they have committed crimes, which were not murder, then you have to make sure in the prison system, which is a hot mess, that they are rehabilitated properly before they go back into society. This is not rocket science.
Well, I'm going to scare you on this one.
Here we go.
I once had a vision of being a minister.
Uh-oh.
There goes the neighborhood.
Yeah, I grew up with that.
I was an Episcopalian, and I really, as being an acolyte, I had a vision of becoming a minister. And I was reading a lot of the Bible, and since you mentioned one, in the beginning there was the light, and of course the Adam and Eve, and they begot Cain and Abel. But here's the question that I had, and I guess that's why I got a minister today, because I brought this question up on a radio station, and they would not bring me back. Cain slew his brother
with a rock,
and he left and went to east of Nod.
Yes.
And there he knew his wife. Where did his wife come from?
Oh, come on.
There were only four people: Cain and Abel, Adam and Eve. One slews the other, and he leaves and goes to the land of Nod. Where these other people come from? If there were only four people. On that basis, I guess I was no longer going to be a minister.
Well, here's the thing. That's a simple answer.
Go ahead. I gotta hear this one.
I grew up with this stuff. That's a simple answer. Eventually, Adam and Eve had more children. They didn't give the time frame when he got married.
That's right.
There was no time frame. Okay. So he went to Nod, and he got marked so that anyone, that means there are going to be more people who saw him wouldn't kill him. So he had a mark so that they wouldn't kill him because he slew his brother. So eventually, with the kids and maybe grandkids, they had, God did.
Oh,
read
God,
it.
okay.
Yeah, read it. It's there.
I got to back
so
off. If God did, I back off.
Yeah, he marked him so he wouldn't. He said, wait a minute. You know, they're going to be after me. You know, who are going to be after him? The other human beings, his brothers and sisters that are born, and nieces and nephews, whatever. So there's going to be a population explosion. So he knew that. So he lived there, and eventually he met someone who.
So there's something evidently missing in the Bible, right?
No. You can.
Well, where do we find it?
You can deduce that. I'll show you.
Oh, I can't deduce. I want to read it.
My grandfather was a pastor. I was raised in this, so I had questions like that too. So they were answered for me.
Okay,
but
you and I gonna have a good discussion because I'm quite certain you will educate me in this area. I grew up on this stuff. I'm really lacking in this area.
I grew up on this stuff. But let's go to what the next clip, and that's the violence. Cut to Rock.
Over this last Memorial Weekend, what happened? Don't tell me. Black people was killing each other again. I'm telling you. Now this white supremacist is getting out of hand. Let's go to the video. What we gonna do about all this white supremacy, man? I don't know, man. The white supremacy is powerful, man. It's got black people shooting and killing other black people.
Yeah, Diane and Val, the shooting victims range in age from 2 years old to 77 years old, representing every part of the city. This, despite a collaborative public safety effort the new mayor hopes to implement all summer. Over the holiday weekend, by our count, at least 50 people were shot, 10 killed.
Why we don't hear about these mass shootings? Because there's 50 people shot. They don't die. You know why you don't hear about it? Because it's black people killing other black people. Yeah, that's why. That's crazy. From 2 years old to 77. Why this is not mainstream news every day? Well, if it happened in any other state, it would be mainstream.
No signs of slowing down as more teenagers fall victim to crime. The latest teenage victim is a 15-year-old boy shot in the shoulder over the weekend. This one was no different.
5 people were shot in the past 3 days. One of the victims died.
Yeah, that's what's going on. Shootings and shootings over the Hodge twins. And that was WBL, Mary Bubala, and Kai. I can't return the call, Jackson. So this is going on, this violence and this curfew issue. Listen to this. This guy, this Slim Shady, is such a clown. Now they're begging for people, workers, to go out there to interact with the kids. Didn't I say, Rock and Doc, did I not say, first of all, I explained, I worked with AFDC, Age for Family with Dependent Children. I was one of the first case managers, and we had to go out on the street. And I worked social worker. My mom was a social worker for 35 years. But anyway, I ended up getting a gig doing that for a little bit. And I told you, did I not say, they are not going to do that?
Yep.
I said that. They are not going to do that. And could you imagine you're a husband And most of the social workers that do that stuff, they're women. For the vast majority are women. And a husband's wife saying, you know what, sweetheart, I want to go out and I want to co-mingle and talk to the kids and try to help them at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock at night. Could you imagine what the husband's saying to these kids? You want to go up to a gang of kids, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock at night, so you can get time and a half and put your life on the line with the violence rate of these children. And you're going to go out and you're going to help. And then he said something about volunteers. Nah, numbnuts. You should have thought that over before you tried it. These schemes and these plans and holistic and all this stuff. Doc, what do you think of this issue?
Well, this marks the 10th month in a row as president of the Neighborhood Association that I will come to a meeting and I will start the meeting out with this statement. There is a responsibility for parental guidance.
Yep.
There's a responsibility for parental guidance, and as a guidance, you're responsible, parents, and many of you have failed. And we're saying to these 500, 600, 700 churches, we need you to open up those pretty stained glass windows and start educating our parents who don't know how to even be a parent. That's one of the biggest challenges we have. Where do we have guns? These guns are in our houses.
Exactly.
They're not in trash cans. They're in our houses. And I'm saying, along with parental guidance comes responsibility. And parents, the overwhelming majority of you have failed significantly.
Yes, and the failing is one of the reasons why Baltimore City, there's a survey that came out. Baltimore City is number 17 on the list of most dangerous cities in the world.
In the world.
In the world.
Not the United States, in the world.
Well, I've seen lists where Baltimore was higher than that. It was higher, like number 11 or 12.
Okay.
I've seen lists, and look at who's running things. You got a Twinkle Toes cupcake. Twinkle Toes cupcake. Weak on crime. Arrogant. Pompous moron. Who's running things? Remember the story about the king with no clothes? Remember that story?
Yes, sir.
He thought he was decked to the nines. He thought he was styling and profiling. Woo! And he's walking around thinking he's a man and he is that. But in reality, this man's butt naked. Well, there you go. Baltimore has a mayor. He's a king with no clothes. He thinks he's intelligent. See, he thinks he's smart. Just like the king thought he had clothes on. But in reality, dumb as a box of cotton. That's what we've got. It doesn't know how to deal with crime, doesn't know how to lower the crime rate, and hence the alarmingly dangerous city in Baltimore. And there have been other reports about Baltimore, and I've seen plenty of them with our horrific ratings regarding murder, homicide, and violence. In Baltimore, I said it last week, I'm going to say it again. 1 in every 1,700, that's 1,700. 1 in every 1,700 people is murdered in Baltimore. That's a per capita per year. Now you take a monster city, 8.7 million people, New York City. 1 in every 21,000 people are murdered. That's a huge difference. Huge, monster difference. And a Time article reported the highest homicide rate in the U.S. for 2021. They had the highest cities with the highest homicide rate. This is October 19, 2022. And guess what? Baltimore wasn't on the list. And I'm reading the article, I'm going, wait a minute, Baltimore's not on this list. And I figured it out. We weren't on the list because this is for 2021. This is Brandon Slim Shady's first year. And our rate was probably so high that they didn't report it to the FBI so that they could put it on a list, because he knew that his campaign promise of a 15% reduction in homicide, and this would go out nationally, and it would show that he broke his promise. So, and one more quick doc. USA by numbers. Article, January 1st, 2023, has Baltimore at number 2. I guess they reported it that year. Number 2, I guess for 2022. Number 2 in the country for homicides, murder, only behind St. Louis. What do you think of that?
Well, I didn't want to bring this up, but I can't help but do it.
Uh-oh.
Folks, let's understand this. Anytime you have a majority city, 62% or more, depending upon the figures, that's African American, but you set up a crime plan that deals with curfews, and it only deals with 3 white communities.
Duh.
3 white communities. And folks, if you know me, I hate being late. If I'm 15 minutes early, I'm late. I was late today because, damn it, guess what? Charles Street is blocked off. There's no announcement that Charles Street is blocked off during all of the white neighborhoods. It took me as much time to walk to find a parking space. Who told us that Charles Street, where the white folks are, was going to be closed today? I had to go to the Belvedere where the radio show is located. Why weren't citizens of Baltimore City notified that white folks on Charles Street got Charles Street closed down? The same reason why 3 white neighborhoods get a curfew. What about the rest of us, damn it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's targeting, and you're leaving out the black community that's being affected by this. And it is segregation. Real quick, because we're going to roll a few more clips, but I went to Nashville, Tennessee. I love Nashville, Tennessee. I had a deal going down there, property deal. Great music. I loved it. B.B. King's place. And I noticed something. I'm in the truck with the contractor, and we're driving around Nashville, and I noticed a lot of salt and pepper couples. That means, you know, one person's white, one person's black. And I'm saying to the guy, I'm like, wait a minute, do you have a lot of this down here? And he goes, oh yeah, you know, we're desegregated. We don't have that, and Baltimore's so segregated. And I'm saying to myself, wow, this is Tennessee, this is the South. And it's a big difference, and Baltimore's supposed to be so cosmopolitan and all. So y'all need to do something about that.
What's going on? That was the most segregated day of the week.
You need to do something.
Church on Sunday, segregation.
Well, Grace Bible Baptist Church, to its credit, out there in Catonsville, they're a very desegregated church. I'll give them that. They're very. Pastor Harmon is very desegregated. Pastor Johnson before that, who was really, really, really good friends with my grandfather, Pastor Joseph Brown. So I'll give them kudos on that. Now we're going to go to black men, because it's an ongoing series, leaving the Democratic Party, and this is going on all over the country, and I believe a reason for that is Joe Biden. Rock cut 3, please.
Since he took office, families are carrying less debt. A recent survey from the Federal Reserve found that more Americans feel financially comfortable.
So I talked to the guys there because I've been hoping this for a long time, years. And from what they said, people using credit cards. Not debit card, credit. Not debit card, credit. That's how bad it is.
American. This wealthy Biden administration is reporting that happening here in America actually lines up with what people think on the streets. Joe Biden said that we're in a strong economy, that we're doing great. Do you believe that?
No. Ain't no comfortability around nowhere.
Sooner or later, because like what's happening now is everybody is feeling the heat from, you know, every angle of the society. So yeah, I feel like no, it's not true.
The administration comes forward and says that economically and financially our country is doing really well. Do you think that's a lie?
Yeah, I think they're blowing smoke up behind. I think it's Biden's fault. Trump said he win. Like, we deal with a lot of the stuff that we did way back when we had the Great Depression. We were not financially stable, comfortable, or nothing like that. But when Trump was in office, I was feeling really good.
Well, that's what's going on. The brothers are getting upset. They're like, whoa, wait a minute. This guy made all these promises, and the guy goes, look at these gas prices. I'm not comfortable. They're spending money. The inflation rate is gone up. All is going. And I'm going to go to the fourth clip, and then we're going to talk about this, Doc, real quick. Rock, could you cut 4, please?
Biden is a bigger risk than Hillary was. Because, first of all, he's not as smart. And I think that the way things are poised, if he comes in and the Democrats take the Senate, I don't see anything getting better in this generation. I also believe that even though the country has weathered many bad things in the past, there is a point of no return. And I suspect that that's where we're going to be taken to. And I see people talking seriously about abolishing the police force. My gosh, I mean, insanity. And of course, the biggest losers, if they do that, would be the low-income minority, where you already have these rising rates of murder as the police withdraw. And the police themselves, when they realize that there are politicians who will throw them to the wolves rather than confront the loudmouths, they pull back.
When does this clip come out?
I'm about to say, too bad we did not know about him before the election.
When did this come out?
Oh,
this came out a year ago.
Oh, man. Well, he truly predicted it.
Yeah, it was a prediction, what was going to happen. Black folks are finding this stuff out, and it's buyer's remorse. Doc, what do you think?
Well, I look at it this way. I made a suggestion 2 months ago, and I'm going to continue making it. If you can vote for someone named Conaway and you never seen him, never knew what he was like, I'm telling folks to do this. We're not going to change things in the city of Baltimore, where I don't remember the last time a Republican got elected out of the city of Baltimore. We need to let our Republican brothers and sisters know, change your party for the primary election. Become a Democrat. Now, depending upon your feelings, once you're the election, and if you're successful, you change back and become a Republican. But I'm saying, folks, we have made so many major errors in electing folks that you've never seen before, because they got the same last name, because they belong to the same fraternity or same union. We need to kick that to the curb and vote on the best person elected and qualified to get elected. And I'm saying, Republicans, change your party for the next primary election. And if you feel a need to switch back after you win, I got no problems with it.
Well, you have an issue that's going on in Chicago, just like Baltimore. Chicago had like 53 shootings in one weekend, mass shootings. You have Baltimore City that has shootings and a high rate of homicide, and a mayor who made a campaign promise. 206, Brandon. 206. That's what your campaign promise, Jack, was for the year of 2023. 206. You didn't say the number, but I did the math. The outsiders did the math. Sean Sims did the math. And that's your number for 2023. You got 206. And with all the shootings and the craziness going on, and Tim Scott's running for president, he's a black man. I'm going to touch on this a little bit more, not today, but just a smidge. Roland Martin, one of the attack dogs of the Democratic Party, went after Tim Scott. Roland, went after him. And this is what you have going on, just like you had with the slave trade. The reason why the slave trade was successful is because you had Africans selling other Africans into slavery to the slavers. And I'm going to compare Roland Martin and his ilk attacking Tim Scott, because that's what they do. They put us against each other if you have a different philosophy, because you got off the plantation. But I'm going to go to Stephen A. Smith and what he had to say about what was his rant. Now all of a sudden he's getting some kahunas to speak up. Okay, Stephen A., let's hear what you have to say. Rock, cut 5, please.
Look at ourselves when it comes to black people. being killed in the streets of America by other black people. I don't even want to get into what happened in Chicago, but I have no choice.
Yeah, come on, Stephen A.
This past Memorial Day weekend from Friday to Monday, at least 53 people were shot. 11 fatally, according to police.
Mass shootings.
If one black person was killed by the police, we raise holy hell in it. In some cases, they'd be riots in the street. Where's the due diligence when it comes to putting a spotlight on what we're doing to each other?
You win, Stephen A.
Because this pissed me off. 53 lives. 53 in one weekend.
One city.
It's not the first time this has happened. It's been happening year after year after year. Chicago, St. Louis, Baltimore, it goes on and on. Where's the noise at?
Yeah.
Where's the protest?
Yeah.
Where's mainstream media talking about that? Where is it? That's what I want to know. Because let me tell you something. Nothing else matters.
I mentioned the first part of it because I think it's significantly true that why don't we roll out in the middle of the street and protest when black people are getting murdered in mass shootings every weekend? These are mass shootings. When stew-heads like Sonny Hostin get on there and say there was 200 mass shootings this year already. No, come on, Sonny. How many of those mass shootings are occurring in inner cities in America? Probably 80% of them. How do you think 50-some people get shot in a weekend? Those are called mass shootings.
Yeah, those are called mass shootings. Sonny Olsen, she's from Baltimore, I believe, of The View. And we're going to get ready to go on that. Doc, what do you have to say about that issue?
I like Stephen A's knowledge of sports in general. I would like to have our group right here, invite him to Baltimore City so we can talk to the men of Baltimore to ask them to take on more parental responsibility. So I'd like to invite Stephen A to come to Baltimore, join us on the Outsiders, and we collectively do a rally to ask the men to become more responsible parents and fathers. And let's do something in Baltimore. I want to bring Stephen A. I like his knowledge of sports.
On that note, we all have to go. God bless everyone. Take care. There was another episode of The Outsiders, and we'll see you, talk to you, hear from you, hopefully, next week. Take care.